At Legco, the city chief vows to get to the bottom of the Tai Po fire, while the government says the ravaged blocks are very likely to be demolished. Seng Bank bids farewell to the Hong Kong stock market following privatisation deal. And in Thailand, a crane falls onto a moving passenger train, causing derailment with dozens killed. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Quentin Yan. Newly elected lawmakers held their first meeting of the legislative term today. Addressing the chamber, Chief Executive John Lee pledged a thorough investigation into the deadly Tai Po blaze and outlined his expectations for the legislators. Cheryl Yun reports.
The new Legislative Council convened its first meeting this morning, presided over by President Starry Lee. It also marked the first time the chief executive delivered a speech directly to the lawmakers at the chamber's inaugural meeting.
我希望議員喺履行治港嘅重任中。
Lee emphasized the legislators' responsibility to lead society by speaking the facts and filtering out misinformation. I will be pleased to hear your views, whether you agree with the government or not, he said. When you disagree, please point out the issues and offer concrete recommendations and suggestions. We will consider them seriously. He added that he also expected lawmakers to be fair and acknowledge it when the government gets things right. Turning to the recent tragedy in Tai Po, Lee pledged to finalize long-term housing arrangements for displaced families as quickly as possible and vowed a full, impartial investigation.
無論係基層或者高層。
We will act strictly according to the facts to determine responsibility and any necessary punishment, whether it involves government officials or not, and regardless of rank, he stated. As he left the chamber, Lee declined to comment on the possibility of on-site redevelopment of Wang Fu Court, but he briefly assured reporters that he was in good health. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
Residents of the fire-ravaged Wang Fu Court may not be returning to their old homes. As the government said, the damaged towers will likely be torn down, while offering a set of long-term rehousing options. At the Legislative Council's new term meeting, Housing Secretary Winnie Ho reviewed severe structural damage to the 7 blocks hit by a major blaze over a month ago, describing them as having serious internal injuries. While there is no immediate danger of collapse, the government estimates demolition will very likely be necessary. Authorities are now seeking to balance residents' wishes of speedy and practical rehousing through an ongoing survey. In the same session, Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wan, who leads the Emergency Housing Task Force, said the government is leaning toward cash buybacks of the affected flats. This would provide a lump sum for residents to purchase properties on the open market. Residents can opt for subsidized home ownership scheme flats with extra discounts, including a Kowloon Bay property offered at 60% of market value, ready for move-in by September. One cited the Hong Kong Institute of Surveyors as valuing the flats at roughly $6,000 to $8,000 per square foot, but stressed that these figures do not represent the final buyback price. For residents wishing to remain living in Tai Po, the quickest proposed solution is rehousing at a modified public housing site on Chong Nga Road West. The shovel-ready site could deliver 900 flats by the second half of 2029, with another 600 to follow. However, for residents looking forward to rebuilding at the original site, officials warned this path is fraught with legal and procedural challenges. It would require acquiring all affected property rights before demolition could even begin. The full process could take 9 to 10 years, with moving dates stretching to 2035 or 2036. In the wake of the Tai Po fire, authorities have proposed law changes to combat bid rigging in building maintenance works and enhance fire safety. They include a ban on smoking at all construction sites and empowering the Urban Renewal Authority in vetting contractors and tenders. Jimmy Liu reports.
只有預審名單之內嘅 At the legislature, Chief Secretary Eric Chan, leader of a task force to probe the fire and review current regulations, proposed a list of systematic changes. The Development Bureau suggested all building maintenance projects to be deemed as Class 1 minor works, making it compulsory to have third-party professionals formulate safety plans. The government also planned to pass into law a safety distance between buildings undergoing renovations and ban smoking at all construction sites. Other proposals include requiring Fire Services Department approval before fire alarms or other equipment can be switched off during renovation. In combating bid rigging, the government will revamp the URA's Smart Tender Scheme, which helps homeowners to evaluate tenders. The scheme would screen contractors and consultants for criminal or disciplinary records, limiting government subsidies to a list of approved firms. There will be measures to empower owners' corporations, requiring higher meeting turnout to approve extra funds for maintenance or procurement. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
A construction crane collapsed onto a moving passenger train in northeastern Thailand, killing at least 31 people and injuring 64. The contractor involved was also linked to the fallen skyscraper in Bangkok during earthquake last year. Smoke was pouring out of the railway carriage after it derailed and caught fire. Rescuers were working to extract passengers from the wreckage. The devastating accident occurred at 9:30 this morning when a large construction crane used for a high-speed rail project collapsed onto a moving train in Sikio, Nakhon Ratchasima. The impact severely bent the carriage's metal structure, with passengers trapped inside. Due to the overlap of the crane and the train, rescue operation has been difficult. The victims were evacuated and taken to a nearby hospital. The three-carriage train was carrying approximately 195 people from the capital Bangkok bound for Ubon Ratchathani province. This survivor said he was asleep and suddenly heard a loud crash. The locomotive dragged the crane along, causing the carriage to be torn off the tracks, he recalled. The cause of the incident remains under investigation. The elevated high-speed rail line under construction is part of a project backed by Beijing to build a high-speed rail network connecting Bangkok to Kunming in China via Laos by 2028. The anti-government protest in Iran rage on as the reported death toll has risen to around 2,000, including security forces. U.S. President Donald Trump told protesters that help is on its way and warned Iran against executing them. Jimmy Liu has more.
Despite days of internet blackout, witness accounts have emerged from Iran of the regime unleashing a brutal crackdown on the unrest. Citing doctors in Tehran, The Guardian reported that injuries had suggested authorities were deliberately targeting the eyes and vital organs of protesters. Trump urged the protests to continue, saying help is on its way.
By the way, to all Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. And I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way.
The U.S. president also warned Tehran against executing detained protesters, saying his country would take strong action. When asked about Iran's threat to retaliate at any U.S. intervention, Trump brought up last year's attack on Iran's nuclear facilities.
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
U.S. outlet Axios reported that White House envoy Steve Witkoff had secretly met with the exiled former Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, who is trying to position himself to step in as a transitional leader if the regime falls. Iran's UN mission accused Washington of using chaos as a pretext for military intervention and warned its regime change playbook would fail again. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
On his second day in Japan, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung joined Japanese Prime Ministers Naito Takaichi for a visit to a historic temple in Nara City, further strengthening their personal ties after a surprise K-pop jam session they shared the night before. The leaders toured Hairyoji, a World Heritage Buddhist temple in Nara this morning. The temple is historically linked to Korea's ancient Baekje kingdom. The rare cultural excursion into Takaichi's hometown was marked by their budding friendship, including a casual exchange about Lee's sneakers. In another gesture of friendship, Lee gifted a drum set to his counterpart, who once played heavy metal drums. The pair staged an impromptu drum performance to K-pop hits, Dynamite and Golden. Takaichi said Lee told her playing the drums was a dream of his when they met at APEC, so she set this up as a surprise. Lee thanked her and described the session as a metaphor for harmonizing bilateral relations. During the summit yesterday, South Korea has reaffirmed its bid to join the 12-member Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership to boost trade. The two leaders also shared a consensus on cooperation in establishing stable supply chains, after Beijing imposed restrictions on exports of dual-use items with potential military applications to Japan. Today marks the last trading day of Seng Bank on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Seng Bank's shares closed at $154.3, while its turnover surged to $9.69 billion. The long-standing bank, with stock code 11 on Hong Kong Stock Exchange, is affectionately referred to by local investors as Number 11 Boy. It is set to be taken off from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange on January 27th, concluding its more than half-century-long listing history. This came after HSBC, which owns about 63% of Hang Seng, offered to spend $106 billion, buying the shares it did not already hold at $155 each under a privatisation plan. Shareholders eventually approved the buyout proposal last Thursday. Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index closed 151 points higher. Top active stocks of the day: Alibaba was up $9.10. Tencent was up $5.50. Meituan was down $3.40, and Xiaomi was down 20 cents. Thousands of runners are in the final stages of preparation for the Standard Chartered Hong Kong Marathon this Sunday, with crowds flocking to Kai Tak Arena to collect their race packs on the first day of the Marathon Expo. With just 4 days to go until race day, the Kai Tak Arena is buzzing as eager runners pour in to pick up their race packs, the most crucial item being the all-important runner bib. This year's event will see a total of 74,000 participants take on the challenge across the full marathon, half marathon, and the 10-kilometer race. Finding your name on the runner's wall can take a bit of patience, but every name tells a different story. One participant shared his relaxed mindset. I've learned from running marathons not to put too much pressure on myself. Even if I can't finish this year, there's always next year, he said. The expo is packed with fun, with dozens of booths offering photo opportunities, games, and chances to shop for running gear and souvenirs. Admission is free, and the expo runs from today through Saturday. Onto the weather now. Cloudy periods overnight. The minimum temperature tomorrow morning will be about 17 degrees in the urban areas and a few degrees lower in the new territories. Mainly fine and dry during the day, with a maximum temperature of around 22 degrees. Visibility relatively low in some areas later. And that's our news tonight. I'm Quentin Yang. Thank you for watching. Good night.